Hello, Western Civ 104. Welcome to week 7. And I just want to say that I liked a lot of the discussions, but I also think that many of you are putting on your perception as a believer or not of the religion of Christianity. And what we want to do is look at Christianity as its historical influences. And that can also mean when things are done in the name of Christianity that don't seem to you as Christian. People will always have debates whether I teach world religions in my World Civ 106 class. Some of you may have had me in that. And we see that the practice and the theory of religion doesn't always go hand in hand. We're not resolving in this class what is true Christianity, if you want to put it that way, or if it's true at all. These are not the questions that are being posed in this class. What we're trying to understand is the way that Western civilization develops, and Christianity becomes a major part of that through the vehicle of the Romans in many ways. And it is put into effect and the practices by force, by the state. So at first the state oppresses Christianity, and then Christianity becomes the ideological construct of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, as it expands, is now pushing its ideological perception of the world in the way that it sees it. And from various points of view, some of these things can be seen as negative if we don't think it's fair to impose a religious point of view on another person by force. On the other hand, also, we will see later on that Christianity preserved many things. It's not again though. I'm not having this. It's not I'm not criticizing Christianity per se or celebrating it. We're talking about the way that things happened in practice with human beings on the ground. Okay, and this is one of the other things that's very important for you to understand. I keep seeing students say this. Even my Catholic students, because they say that they're Catholic, that's why I'm not asking anybody which religion is. They'll say, oh, Christianity is very close to Catholicism, or they'll say Catholic or Christian. Everyone, you need to understand, Christianity and Catholicism is the same thing. Now, later on, we'll learn about the Protestant religion, or the protest against the Catholic Church. America is a country mainly that's been founded by a very hardcore Protestant tradition that is very opposed to the Catholic Church. And this has made us kind of lose sight of the history. So Protestants will often say that Catholics aren't real Christians in theological debates. I'm not saying this is all of you are saying, but this is what happens. And I think because we are a byproduct of European wars, which we will learn later, just like we see what happened in Syria and Iraq, where different versions of Islam are fighting each other and claiming that the true Islam is one way. Many of our ancestors, those of us of white European heritage, fled Europe because Europeans were slaughtering each other eventually over deciding what was real Christianity. That's just a fact, okay? And we need to be cognizant of that. And so a lot of our bias, even secular historians who are not religious, when they're teaching U.S. history, we tend to think of Christianity in terms of the Protestant tradition. Or we limit it to just Catholic versus Protestant, forgetting that there's Eastern Orthodox, which sees itself still a part of the Roman tradition, which we're learning a little bit more about this week. And within all of that, if you have Assyrian friends, they come out of a various version of Christianity that was rooted in these time periods, and actually their church was expelled by the Orthodox Church over political dramas that took place in these councils, okay? And again, I'm not having a debate about whether these things are right or wrong, but the dramas and the divisions and a lot of the things that we're going to talk about happened. They happened, and they still have consequences to this day. My friend is Syrian Orthodox, not Assyrian Orthodox, but he's Syrian Orthodox. When I went to his child's baptism, infant baptism, by the way, Protestants usually don't do infant baptism. Many don't. But anyways, his priest was saying that he's told by his hierarchy that when it comes to communion at church, he's not allowed to give communion to people who aren't a part of his church. So a Catholic would not be allowed to partake in communion. And he doesn't have anything against Catholics, that's according to him, but this is like the rules of his church. But he said the Catholic Church has made allowance for his parishioners to take communion if they go to the Catholic Church. This is a weird kind of drama that for non-religious people they don't really understand, or especially people who have even grown up Christian but have a Protestant background. But just to make clear for everybody who's watching that did not have a Christian background, many people who are Baptist evangelical Christians, a Christian like, let's say, the vice presidents of our vice president of our country, Mike Pence, is an evangelical Christian. Many from his church would not consider it okay to go to a Catholic church to this day. Now, I'm not speaking for him. I don't know what his position is. So all of this drama still happens and is a part of our civilization and the discourse of our civilization. So this is why I want you to be really aware of all these things, and I want you to put into the discussions the historical things that we're talking about more than just some of your personal thoughts or sentiments about Christianity. Now, I don't mind a little bit of that if it helps clarify or put us in a way to understand this history, okay? And we will develop more and more. From this point on, we're going to be talking about Christianity a lot in this class because Christianity is a huge influence on our civilization. So it doesn't matter. Are you an atheist? It doesn't matter. You better understand this. You got to understand this. If you're Christian and you're not comfortable with some of the aspects of this legacy, that's something that you need to resolve or it can be worked out. Again, what I want to remind us, though, is that human beings everywhere in the world have embraced certain ideologies. Every civilization has a military, prisons, and most civilizations had official religions that were a part of that society that were often at the expense of another idea. Religious freedom and the idea of having a multiplicity of different cultures in one spot is relatively new and tolerated in ways that we'll learn it. You know, if you take my world religion, or should I say my world civilization 106 class, you'll see that some civilizations were more open to various things. We know that Rome, when it was pagan, allowed for quite a bit of different religions. But that was not always the case. And even Buddhism, which is seen as a very tolerant religion, has often not always been tolerant of other religions or other branches of Buddhism necessarily, depending on the nation that you're talking about. So, anyhow, I think you all got my point. If you have any questions, please contact me. And remember, the texting works. I do work 2 10-hour days again, pretty much, for the next 2 days. And then I'm back to grading it from home Wednesday and Thursday. Have a great week.